Rain hammered the windshield so hard that Noah could barely see the road, but he was used to driving through storms. What he wasn't used to was the sudden, jarring instinct that made him slam the brakes in the middle of the empty stretch of highway outside Cedar Falls, Iowa. The moment he saw her, shivering, soaked, clutching a tiny bundle to her chest, time seemed to fracture. A young mother, barely standing, holding a baby wrapped in nothing but a thin blanket that the storm had already swallowed. Noah didn't know who she was, where she came from, or why she was alone in a place where even the wind seemed to howl in warning. All he knew was that something deep inside him whispered that this moment was about to change everything. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of helping strangers, please like this video, leave a comment, share it with others, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps these stories reach more hearts. Noah stepped out into the downpour, not caring that his clothes soaked through instantly. The woman looked up at him with eyes filled with a mixture of terror and hope, as though she had been praying for someone, anyone, to stop. Her voice trembled as she tried to speak, but her lips were nearly blue. She pressed the baby closer, trying desperately to shield the infant from the icy wind. Noah guided them both into the warmth of his car, turning the heat up until it roared. Her hands shook uncontrollably as she unwrapped the blanket just enough for Noah to see the tiny face within, pink but chilled, the baby's breaths shallow and fragile. As Noah drove, he kept glancing at her in the rearview mirror, trying to piece together a story he didn't yet know. The woman gave her name, Harper, and her voice cracked as if every word cost her something. She didn't explain what she was running from or why she had been stranded miles from anywhere. Instead, she spoke only when absolutely necessary, her attention always on the small life resting against her. Noah felt the weight of her silence like a presence in the car. Something was wrong. Something big. And yet, despite the fear radiating off her, she kept whispering soft words to her baby, words that seemed too gentle for someone who looked like she had walked through a nightmare. By the time they reached the nearest town, the storm had taken full control of the sky. Thunder shook the ground, and the rain blurred every streetlight. Noah's heart raced as he pulled into the emergency entrance of Cedar Falls General Hospital. Nurses rushed out when they saw the state of mother and child, quickly ushering them inside. Noah stayed close, as if some unseen thread tied him to them. Harper didn't resist, she seemed to trust him, though they'd only met minutes before. Maybe she had no one else. Maybe he had arrived at the exact second her world was about to collapse. Inside the warm, bright corridor, Harper finally broke down. Tears poured down her face as nurses examined the baby, checking vitals, warming tiny limbs. Harper stood rooted to the floor, trembling, her clothes clinging to her like a second skin. Noah gently guided her to a chair. Even then, she wouldn't let her eyes leave the baby. She looked exhausted to the point of collapse, but she fought to stay upright, driven by some force only a mother could possess. Eventually, a doctor came out and assured Harper the baby, little Rose, would be okay. Just cold, hungry, and stressed. Nothing that warmth, rest, and care wouldn't fix. The relief that washed over Harper was so intense she nearly melted to the floor. Noah helped her to her feet, and for the first time, she looked him fully in the eyes. That was when she whispered the words he would never forget, the words that explained everything and yet made everything more complicated than he could have imagined. Her voice was barely audible as she said, "You saved us, and you don't even know what we were running from." Hours passed. The storm outside slowly softened from chaos to drizzle. Inside the hospital room, Harper finally shared the truth. Not in dramatic bursts, but in soft, trembling paragraphs that spilled out between breaths. She had left an abusive situation, a home where shouting and shattered glass had become normal, where the man she once trusted had turned into someone who could hurt her and might one day hurt her baby. She had waited until he left for work, then grabbed Rose, whatever she could fit into one small backpack, and fled. She didn't have a plan. Only fear. The storm had risen faster than she expected, and her car gave out in the middle of nowhere. She had been walking for nearly 2 hours before Noah saw her. Noah listened, feeling anger burn in his chest, not at Harper, but at the cruelty she endured. He had grown up watching his own mother survive a similar nightmare before she finally broke free. Hearing Harper's story reopened old memories, ones he rarely discussed, ones that had shaped him into someone who never turned away when he saw someone in need. Maybe that was why he stopped tonight. Maybe some quiet part of him refused to let another mother face danger alone. When morning came, Harper and Rose were moved to a quiet room where they could rest. Harper tried to thank Noah more times than he could count, but every time, he gently told her she didn't need to. He made sure she had food, warm clothes, and someone to call for help, though she admitted she had no family left who could take her in. Still, Noah refused to leave her isolated. He stayed nearby, not hovering, not pressuring, just being there, solid and steady, like a lighthouse in a storm. As days passed, Harper's strength slowly returned. The hospital arranged temporary shelter, a small support program for women escaping dangerous homes. Noah visited almost every day, becoming someone Rose reacted to with bright eyes and soft coos. The more Harper spoke, the more Noah learned how hard her life had been and how fiercely she fought to protect her daughter. She wasn't weak. She was a survivor, one who had walked through torment to keep her baby safe. Noah didn't set out to become part of their story, but life doesn't always consult the people it touches. One quiet afternoon, Harper admitted she hadn't felt safe in years, not even for a moment, until the night Noah stopped his car. She told him she had prayed for a sign that leaving was the right choice. She never expected that sign to appear in the shape of a stranger's headlights cutting through the storm. Weeks later, Harper and Rose moved into a small apartment arranged through a local outreach program. Noah helped her carry the few belongings she had, and though the walls were bare and the space modest, Harper cried softly when she stepped inside. To her, it was freedom. Safety. A future. Noah promised he would help however she needed, not to overstep, but to support, to be the person she could lean on until she found her own footing again. Their bond deepened naturally, carefully, built on trust, healing, and shared moments that grew more meaningful with time. Harper grew stronger each day, finding work, attending counseling, slowly reclaiming pieces of herself she thought she had lost forever. Rose flourished too, smiling more often, reaching for Noah whenever he visited. Harper once confessed that watching Noah with Rose gave her hope, not just for the baby's future, but for her own heart, which she feared had been damaged beyond repair. But healing is its own kind of miracle, slow but unstoppable once it begins. And sometimes, kindness can light a path long before love realizes it is following. Months after that stormy night, Harper and Noah found themselves sitting on a park bench in the soft glow of spring sunlight. Rose slept peacefully in Harper's arms. Noah reached out, brushing a gentle hand against the baby's head, and Harper smiled weakly, tenderly, like someone who had finally learned that life could offer something other than pain. Harper whispered that she still remembered the thunder that shook her bones, the rain that felt like it could swallow her, and the terrifying fear that she might not make it through the night. Then she looked at Noah and said she also remembered the moment the storm broke, not in the sky, but in her life, the moment she saw headlights and realized someone had stopped for her when no one else ever had. As the breeze rustled through the leaves and Rose stirred in her sleep, Harper leaned her head gently against Noah's shoulder. It was a gesture filled with gratitude, trust, and the fragile beginnings of something hopeful. Noah wrapped an arm around her, not tightly, but with the quiet promise that she was no longer alone in the world. Their story didn't become perfect overnight. Life rarely works that way. But it became real, grounded in compassion, resilience, and the simple truth that sometimes the most powerful miracles come not from grand gestures, but from ordinary people choosing to stop, to help, to care. And that night, long ago now, when the world was falling apart in a storm, a stranger stopped his car, and in doing so became the answer to a prayer whispered into the darkness. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your engagement helps more people experience stories